So why would Gerald Butts quit? No apology, of course. No contrition, no taking responsibility. Adamant that he's as pure as the driven slush. Then why? Why did he quit? We know that Gerald Butts is pretty much the opposite of clean when it comes to graft or grifting. As Vivian Krause herself has documented, Gerald Butts literally stayed on the payroll of an anti-oil lobby firm called the World Wildlife Fund, even after he went to work for Trudeau. He got paid more than $250,000 US. As in, he was taking money from an anti-oil lobby group and not disclosing it publicly while he went to work for Trudeau in Ottawa. That's shocking. Imagine if someone was working for a party leader and being paid $250,000 on the side by an oil company and keeping it secret. Or even moving from Toronto to Ottawa to officially become Trudeau's principal secretary. Gerald Butts billed taxpayers $127,000 just to move down the highway. It's a 4-hour drive. $127,000, and he hid that from the public, and he covered it up when people tried to find out through access to information, and then he attacked reporters who reported it, and then he grudgingly repaid part of it, so he says. Do you see what I mean? He wasn't clean. He wasn't above corruption. He was the ambassador of grift. He was the leader of entitlement, personally. He was the one who approved Trudeau putting not one but two personal family nannies on the public dime. Who does that? Trudeau's a millionaire. Why can't he pay for his own nannies? Gerald Butts approved the trip to Billionaire Island, and then he quarterbacked the legal defense. It lost. Of course, Trudeau has been convicted of breaking the Conflict of Interest Act again and again and again, with no consequence, of course. So if the Prime Minister's best friend since college, his personal buddy, and his principal secretary, look at them with their sandals there. If Gerald Butts was personally on the take in the ways I've just described, if he's cashing checks from lobbyists in the manner I've just described, if he's paying himself $127,000 in moving expenses, what did he have, moved by Rolls Royce or something? If he's approving Trudeau's personal indulgences, he is the one who set the tone for corruption, set the standard for corruption, showed the tolerance for corruption. Is it any surprise that SNC Lavalin thought they could play with the Canadian government just like they played in Libya? Oh, and the moral preening. I just have to read you one more excerpt from his self-serving letter. Gerald Butts says, I also need to say this, and I know it's a non sequitur. Our kids and grandkids will judge us on one issue above all others. That issue is climate change. I hope the response to it becomes the collective, nonpartisan, urgent effort that science clearly says is required. I hope that happens soon. What? Well, you know he was a global warming lobbyist, right? You know he was paid to take that position by the World Wildlife Fund. You know they kept paying him even when he went to Trudeau's office. But what a bizarre thing to put in a resignation letter, except, number one, to switch the subject, and number two, to show how moral he is. And sure, if maybe he broke a few eggs along the way, well, you have to make an omelet. Except, of course, the only thing his global warming crusade has done is lay off Canadian workers. It hasn't changed the weather. It hasn't moved the dial on Canada's global warming emissions, if that's what you care about. They're flat. Donald Trump has reduced America's far more than Canada, and he's not even trying. This is just more moral preening from Gerald Butts that excuses everything. Yeah, he's throwing a bone to his lobbyist friends. Gerald Butts will do anything for his lobbyist friends. That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant show. Every day I do a video monologue and then I interview an interesting guest and then I end by reading my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at the Rebel.media/shows.